Hey there people, how you doing? Today we're gonna review the Vivo X50 Pro, and before we get started, a few things I want to put on the table. First and foremost of which is that it's not a flagship. It doesn't cost as much as one, so obviously we shouldn't expect it to feature all of those excess features that we get from flagships nowadays. But there are some things that differentiates this phone from all the other scores of phones out there, flagship, mid-range alike, and that is that some features on a mid-range device as such are actually better than even some flagships out there. So, with that said, let's begin with the design. And at first glance, it's pretty much all a person could ask for, at least in 2020. It's got some beautifully curved edges, making it very easy to grip. And of course, now on the front, the curved screen, on the other hand, is something that depends on personal taste, in my opinion. Because I personally like it. I like how it gives this slight premium vibe to it, and that's basically why I like it. I know that there are a lot of palm rejection issues that will surface at some point or the other. I don't mind them so much as others, which is why I like curved screens. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who hate them and they're like passionately inclined towards flat displays. And I understand why as well, because palm rejection issues are something that's never been fixed. But of course, again, it does depend on personal taste. Then we do have a relatively tasteful looking camera module, coupled with the obvious good build quality, clicky buttons, and of course, we have a matte finish, and it's great. But therein also lies the one and basically only problem or flaw in the design that I've found so far, is that this matte finish, and I don't know why it happens, it's whether it's a texture or color or manufacturing process or something else entirely, I have no idea, but it happens to attract some nasty fingerprints. I mean, it's pretty crazy how much fingerprints it attracts given that it's a matte finish. I was thoroughly surprised, even like from the first moment that I held this phone. Just the amount of fingerprints that came onto it just appalled me. Of course, it is uncanny for a matte finish, but yeah, it's no deal breaker in my opinion. But of course, it is definitely something that a consumer should know. But enough about that back. What about the front? It's got curved edges, and like I said before, you can love him or hate him. But we also have a single punch hole shifted towards the left. And yeah, I understand the reason behind it. It keeps the selfie camera out of the way, but I also would have preferred maybe the symmetry of a center punch hole. I don't know. Let me know in the comments which one you guys prefer. But yeah, all in all, I do think that this design is great. It's got like all of the things that you'd ever need, basically. Very good build quality, as I said before. And yeah, I'd say the design is more than enough for a mid-range device. Now let's move on to the display. It's got a 6.56 inch 1080p 90Hz OLED display. And yes, I get it, it doesn't have any unique flagship level features, but again, this isn't a flagship, so not a problem exactly. It's got all the basic features you'd need. 1080p, I'd say plenty of resolution, and screen size is good, bezels are thin, and also the 90Hz smoothness, a really good addition. And so yeah, overall, this display on the X50 Pro, it's a solid one. It's got good brightness, not the best in the world, but yeah, good enough, obviously. And it's also got HDR 10 Plus certification. Now, I had quite a big hiccup in terms of HDR performance, because I don't know why or what's exactly up with the display, but for whatever reason, the HDR content on Netflix and Prime Video, they wouldn't play back in HDR on this display. They wouldn't even recognize this display as HDR playable. So I don't know exactly what's going on, because on YouTube, we can play back HDR. It plays back normally just as it should, and yeah, I don't know what's up with the fact that on Netflix and Amazon, it doesn't play back HDR. Because, let's face it, that's where most of the HDR content is. And if we can't even play back HDR there, then what's even the point of having HDR? The only place we can use it is apparently only YouTube on this one. And I also don't know if it's something that only my unit has and others don't. So yeah, definitely something you guys should keep in mind. But of course, this HDR bug, it should not take away from the fact that this display is still pretty fantastic for the price. Now, if you remember correctly, I did say that this display doesn't have anything particularly standout or unique. And, well, when it comes to the cameras on the X50 Pro, man, that's a whole different story. Because on this one, we have one of the most unique and basically specialized gimbal stabilization system that I've ever seen, and it just works like a fantasy. I did talk about the cameras more in depth in the camera review of the X50 Pro, so for more details do check out that video. But overall, this is still a fantastic camera system with just two exceptions. The first one being the image processing, particularly the high dynamic range processing. And when it works, oh man, it works wonders, because the photos with proper HDR processing from the X50 Pro look just as good as something like the flagships like the Galaxy S20 Plus, and that's a huge deal in my opinion. I mean, wow. This one's got amazing image processing, it's just inconsistent. That's like the main issue here. At times, the dynamic range will be very bad, and I think it's because of a very lackluster processing and lackluster recognition of the scene, which is why the processing won't take place. And yeah, when it doesn't work, the photos come out not so good, but nonetheless, it is still a very good camera for photos overall. And night mode is just stellar on this one. It's as good as the S20 Plus. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's amazing. And then for the second issue, it's with the ultra wide camera. I noticed that the quality and stabilization is at times very underwhelming in video. It's fine in photos, but I would really like some improvements in the ultra wide for video. So just to reiterate, this camera is just freaking amazing. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's at times it feels even overkill for a mid-range device. I mean, a unique gimbal camera with stellar software, although inconsistent, but yet again stellar software. Then we also have 5x optical zoom, a separate 2x 13 megapixel optical zoom for 2 times zooming, because the gap between 1x and 5x is apparently way too much, so we need something in middle. Yeah, it's just a fantastic camera. It's versatile, it's got good quality, and overall I'd say this is like, you could never go wrong with a camera as good at this price point. It is definitely one of the strongest points of this device, and another very strong point is the software, the UI. And fun fact, I also made a software review for this phone, so do check that out because it is really amazing, and I went quite a bit in depth with all the crazy customizations and animations that we have here. But here's a little gist. At first, like when you just boot up the device for the first time, it'll look a lot like stock Android with the app drawer and all that looking pretty similar, but there will be a little bit of bloatware, so why don't you just get rid of that, because phones have bloatware. And yeah, it's very clean overall, it's super fast, fluid, there are no hiccups as such, and I have to admit, this skin is just amazing. And I'm not even talking about the customization, those are just on another league of their own. They're just as good, if not, at times, in some places, even better than the S20 Plus. The customizations and animations, the choice overall, just personalizing the overall user interface, it's freakishly crazy, yeah. But of course, it doesn't come without issues, and it's a very weird issue over here because the notification panel, although it does look kinda drab, but the main problem is that we cannot pull down the notification shade by swiping down anywhere on the home screen. It's a feature that almost every single phone has, but apparently we need to reach up all the way, and it inevitably results in some serious hand gymnastics. It's just annoying, that's what I'm trying to say here. The second little bit issue that I have is with the fingerprint scanner placement. It's technically a hardware thing, but why not just put it here? Well, the fact is, the fingerprint scanner is very low, it's right on the edge. I kind of wish it was a little bit higher up, making it a little bit easier for my thumb to get in the place. But in its defense, the fingerprint scanner and biometrics overall on this device are immensely fast. I mean, they're OnePlus 8 Pro level fast, so I really don't have much to complain other than the fact that, the placement, which could be in some ways personal preference as well. Now, while I was talking about all this, I did find out, like, it occurred to me that I've been nitpicking on the fingerprint scanner placement. The fact that this is a mid-range device and it's forcing me to nitpick, and basically it has one single issue with the notification panel, it really goes to show just how well optimized everything is, how much thought has been put behind even the software. That's one place that is basically overlooked by almost every mid-range device. Not every single one, but most of them. And yeah, overall, this software is amazing. You'll enjoy it, trust me. Now, the one thing that's lacking on this phone is speaker quality, and basically it's a mono speaker. It's right down there. It gets loud enough, just to listen to some, I don't know, Instagram video or something like that. But yeah, if you really want to watch movies or web series on this device, then I suggest you use a wireless earbuds because the stereo experience is just not there. So that's basically a wrap for this very good mid-range device. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as good as any flagship in terms of the feature set, the overall feature set. And yeah, but we all have to admit there are certain areas that this camera, or maybe at times in some ways the software, it excels in what it does, and the way it does things, the quality. And that, in my opinion, is most impressive, almost overkill, as I stated before. And as far as I've seen, mid-range devices are not this amazing. I mean, I haven't used my full share of mid-range devices, so I'm not an expert on it, but as far as I've used this one, I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience. And just for a mid-range device, the fact that, again, it has features and it does stuff that are better than certain flagships out there, it really says that this is unique in its own way. It's not just the cameras that make it so. And so that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.